Your coworker didn't do their job and you are left to pick up their slack. That is very unfair, and that's unfortunate because a lot of times it's the coworker kind of pushes it off on us knowing that we'll take care of it, but then also leadership does get involved where it's like the projects are getting done, of course you can do it. How do you change this? Can you change it, or are you like just stuck? Either you deal with it or leave. There's a few steps that you could put in place to see if the situation can change. And we're going to start with, how do you talk to your coworker who isn't picking up the slack or who relies on you to pick up the slack? Okay, first take a deep breath, because going into these conversations, we already know what they're going to say, or we anticipate that they're not going to go well. So we get really nervous, and then we either say too much or too little and we don't focus. So go in with a game plan. That game plan should be knowing the goal of the conversation. The goal of the conversation is come up with a resolution together that helps your coworker do their job so that you can do yours, and so that the separation of my job from their job. Knowing that that's the goal of this conversation, you can have a plan and feel confident about it, because it's not a battle against you and them. It's more of a conversation. How can we resolve this so that my coworker can do their job and I don't have to always pick up the slack? So write out your goals, come up with some options, and then ask your coworker, is there a time that I can meet with you? I would like to discuss something really important, and I would like your feedback, and I'd really like to work with you on this. If they're evasive, just say, hey, look, I know that it's not really a good time. This is important to me, so I'm going to come around this time, and give them a time and sit down with them. Giving them a heads up that you're going to have an important conversation is important and beneficial to you. Doing it not on a deadline or not in the middle of a project is also ideal. Sometime where they can be open to a conversation, because you want them to be open to this so that they have buy-in, can actually fulfill the goals. Okay, so you have your goal. I want it so that they are empowered to do their job so that I can do my job. I have now set a time and location ideally for us to have this conversation. If you can do it in person, that's great. If you can do it online, on video, that's also fine. Phone calls, fine. Never do it in text message or email, because you can't have a lot of back and forth, or the back and forth just gets reworked with the nuances. So have a meeting, sit down and say, voice your concerns. Most likely they are not fulfilling their job for one of a few reasons. One, they might actually not know how to do it. So they don't have the training. That would be something that you could be like, okay, well, I get it. You don't know how to do it. Then that's my job to sit down and say, hey, I know you don't know how to do it. Let me teach you. Let me go over it so that you can now do your job. The other reason why they're maybe not doing it is they don't know the expectations of their work. So you helping them understand the expectations and say, well, these are the expectations of the job. Now, there's a third thing, is maybe they don't know that their actions are affecting other people. So educating, when this project isn't a priority for you, it gets us held up in all these other areas, and then I'm forced to do these things. Now, one of those three should resolve the reason why, and finding out why, asking them, hey, is there something that you're not understanding with how to do this? Is there an expectation that's not clear? Maybe you don't know. And I want to educate you. I want to help you out with this so that we can all do our job. So you're building a partnership with this person, explaining to them, hey, there's a problem and you and I together can solve it. Now, there can be some back and forth, or maybe misunderstanding, or, conversations can go in many different ways. But starting out with those three things begins to have this conversation. Whatever it is, finding one thing that you can come up with a solution, education and training, clearly defining expectations, or just understanding the future. You guys come up with the agreement, go over whatever it is during this conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, the two of you agree, okay, so now that we can get you that training, this is when the training will occur so that you can do this, so that next project you get things on time. The expectations are clear. Maybe I can send a more clear email to you. Maybe we can involve my supervisor in this so that you understand it. And making sure that the two of you are on the same page at the end of the meeting, where it's like, okay, we both know our expectations. I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, and together we can solve the problem. And we're attacking the problem, not the person, because as soon as you come to me and tell me that I have a problem, I'm going to get defensive and I'm going to argue with you. But if it's, hey, there's a problem in the system, or there's an issue with how things are going, I know you probably don't know the impact of your actions, let's resolve it, then you're not battling me and I can create a solution with you and I am more apt to like apply it. Okay, so that is a conversation. A lot of it is like in depth, or taking a deep breath and going through it and bringing your pen and paper with the goal of it, writing it down, and then of course at the end of the conversation that the two of you agree on the expectations, you send a follow-up email saying, hey, we went over the following things. That should resolve some of it. Now, since this is a change of behavior for them, you're changing the processes because they became really used to you doing all the work, it's going to take them some time to adjust to the new norms, and giving them that opportunity to continue to work through it. The first couple times, they're still probably going to do it. And you remind, hey, we had that conversation. Are there any more tools that you need? But you also get to hold them accountable. When you say, oh, well, you can't do it, I'm just going to do it anyways, or, oh, you didn't get to the thing, I'm going to stay late and do it, you are contributing to their problem and not allowing them to fix it. So as soon as you have the conversation and you agree to that, hold them accountable to what you agreed on. That might be hard for you, but you get to do that. Yes, the first couple times, the deadline's probably going to be messed up and you might be frustrated. But eventually, when you allow them to uphold their timeline, their standards, and you let them do it instead of you taking over it, it will slowly grow over time and change. Now, they might, of course, have behavioral uprisings, which I will go over in future videos. And this might be the first conversation that you have individually, and then you may have to bring in another person, a supervisor, or another person to kind of like add authority to the process and add accountability. But trying that first conversation is a good way to really open the conversation, start separating the duties and reminding yourself and the other person their responsibilities versus your responsibilities, and then holding each other accountable to yours and their responsibilities. Okay, so try those things, let me know how they go, and I will do some follow-up ones on how to bring the supervisor in or how to deal with the behavior that can come up when we set new boundaries.